Hey everybody, what's going on? Helmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about what to do if you're behind in a lane, and how you can possibly get yourself out of the hole that you find yourself in. Because we've all been there. We've all had a lane where you go for the early all-in, or you get ganked early, or something misfires and you end up giving up the first kill in the lane. You are now behind in the lane. What do you do and how you should act next is not very complicated, but also something that a lot of people don't seem to do. In fact, a lot of times when people give up the first kill in the lane, the first thought they have is, I died, I need to kill them back so I can equalize the kill. Or, oh, that was really close, so if I come back, I'll be able to do it right this time and kill them. And both of these are flawed concepts. If you die in lane, your opponent is now ahead of you in gold and experience, which are the two main ways a champion gains power in League of Legends. They are therefore stronger than you, automatically, if they killed you in lane. And what this means is that if you try to fight them again, you're fighting at a disadvantage, guaranteed. Because they have more gold, they have more experience, and they're more likely to beat you again. And so, trying to equalize the kill, or even if it was close, it'll be a lot harder to kill them this time around, then you're more likely to die again. And if you do, the gap opens even wider, and you become less useful to your team, and they become a lot stronger. So the key here is not to keep fighting them. That's the #1 thing I want to say. Don't fight your lane opponent if you're behind. You are behind, and you need to do what you can to come back from that. Now, the #1 way to do this is to farm. Like, stop looking for kills, just try to get as much CS as you can. And if this means that you would need to play pushed back very far and let your opponent bully you, that's fine. Because what it means is that you're less likely to give up more kills. Now, it also depends on the lane opponent. Someone like a Heimerdinger, for example, has very low kill pressure. Heimerdinger will basically never kill you if you play safely enough, because he just doesn't have the means to do it, short of happening to get the RW of a lifetime on you. So if that's the case, you can afford to play a little more safely. If it's someone like Darius, for example, and you're playing Garen, you're going to have to be very, very careful and basically give him as much space as he wants, because you can't afford to get near minions without losing a trade and losing more lane pressure. So focus just on farming. Get as much CS as you can, but make sure you're going for CS safely. Greeding out for a cannon minion or that last caster minion is never worth it. You have to make sure, I can get that CS, that is going to be safe. And if you have to use abilities to do it, do it. I have plenty of times as Sivir, I've just spammed Boomerang Blade to get whatever CS I could while I'm behind, because it's a fairly long range ability. I can use it safely to get minions. You don't want to get too close in to try and just last it with auto attacks and end up getting traded on. The other thing is that if your opponent is playing super aggro and trying to kill you more often than they're getting their CS, they'll fall behind in minions, and that'll allow you to possibly get a CS lead, at which point you can maybe overcome the gold deficit, if not necessarily the EXP deficit. The other thing you need to do is you need to start warding up. If you're the weaker lane on the map, and especially if you died to a gank already, you have to start placing wards around your lane, because it is more than likely that the enemy jungler will be back. If they know they already got a kill in that lane, they'll know how they can gank again. The other thing, though, is don't just place down wards. You need to be checking them often. The wards don't do you any good if by the time you've seen the enemy jungler, they're already in the lane. You need to be checking them constantly, and so that way the second the Elise or the Jarvan or the Master Yi show up on your minimap, you're immediately booking it back to safety. Along the same lines, be conscious of how far up you are in the lane. If you're very, very pushed, if you're at their tower, you're gonna get ganked, and you will probably die, short of being able to turn the gank and kill both of them, because that's a long way to run. And most oftentimes you will not have enough health, and if they have a red buff, you're never going to make it. They will get to kill you. So if the wave does hit their tower, back off. Even if you're ahead of your opponent, back off. You never want to be that close, because that's just an easy gank. If you're standing around the middle of the lane, you'll still be in EXP range, but you'll also be at a place where if the enemy laner is trying to set up a gank, they'll have to run past all the minions, which will be super obvious, and you'll know the gank's coming. Or the jungler will have to try and start it, at which point you're close enough to your tower that you can probably escape, and the enemy laner is likely pushed back far enough last hitting that they won't be able to contribute anything to the gank. Finally, ask for assistance. This is a team game. You're intended to win and lose this game as a team. It's never acceptable to say, it's just this one guy's fault. If you really did your best, if you did everything you could, and you're still behind in the lane, then really that's your jungler and your mid laner's fault, or potentially your support's fault, for not helping you come back in. So, and if you are behind, you'll be pushed to your tower more often than not, and this makes it really easy for junglers to gank. So make a note of this. Put in chat, hey, I'm pushed to tower all the time. This guy's always pushed up. This is a really, really easy gank. And that way your jungler knows, oh, hey, and they might be able to visit your lane. And the key here is to be polite with your requests. Don't say, oh, well, they've been top 5 times and my jungler has only been once, or oh, my jungler's so bad he hasn't ganked at all. That's just going to get your jungler to ignore you. Never do that. You don't want to antagonize the jungler. But if you politely say, hey, I'm behind, I'm missing a lot of CS, I'd like a gank, your jungler will try to prioritize for you. Trust me, they will. The other thing, though, is that if they're helping other lanes and they're not helping you, that's not a bad thing. In fact, that means that the jungler is trying to get their other lanes so far ahead that they compensate for the fact that your lane is behind. And while it sucks for you to be the one that is behind, it means that your team overall is going to be doing well. And that means that you can potentially translate to a strong mid game when you start picking up assists, maybe get a couple kills, and you can catch right back up with the rest of your team. So don't worry about that too much. Now, if the jungler's doing nothing, you got a problem. But if you're always pushed your tower, you're having a terrible time, but the jungler's gotten your mid laner 3 kills, you can probably rest easy because your jungler has helped the team do well. One final note I want to make a note of: you need to be aware of counter picks. If you are in a counter-picked matchup, as in the enemy team has counter-picked your champion, you are automatically behind by default. If I'm Garen and they pick Darius, I automatically have to start playing the game as defensively as I just talked about, because the Darius can and will kill you, and there is very little you can do as a Garen into Darius to kill him back. And these kind of matchups exist throughout the game. I'm not talking just about Garen and Darius, but be aware that you start the game behind and you need to be playing defensively in order to compensate for the fact that they have a champion that is good against yours. This can be overcome if you're able to somehow kill your lane opponent, or if you get a gank and you kill him a couple of times. Maybe you've overcome the counter pick. You're strong enough that you can fight them. But you need to be aware of kind of how far ahead you need to be. A Garen that's 3 kills up on a Darius is still about a 50-50 matchup. He's not ahead of the Darius. And even then, I would still probably pick the Darius about 75% of the time to win trades. So again, you need to be very careful when you're in a counterpick matchup. Realize you're behind and use all the strategies I outlined above to just try and last it. Because at the end of the day, as long as you're able to give up no further kills in lane or pick up as much CS as you can, you've helped your team's chances at success. You might lose lane, but losing lane doesn't mean you lost the game. You have a chance to always translate into a solid mid game and help your team come back. Anyways, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Go and leave your comments down below talking about any other tips you found that might help you come back in a losing lane, or what you thought of the things I just described in today's video. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.